The topic today is going to be leaky gut syndrome, the causes and cures. Leaky gut syndrome, the causes and cures. Most people have never heard of it. Most people have never heard of leaky gut syndrome. And what happens is in the small intestines, there's some tiny gaps get created due to inflammation. We'll go into the causes. And through those gaps, you get leakage into the bloodstream of undigested food particles, bacteria, and toxins. The body reacts to it as if it's an antigen, a foreign invader, so you get the whole immune system aroused. And when the immune system stays like that in a chronic way, day after day, you get a chronic inflammation. Whenever you have an infection, you get some inflammation, which is good, but this ends up being a chronic inflammation. The chronic inflammation is all the major diseases start with a chronic inflammation, whether you're talking about cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, all starts with a chronic inflammation. So this is very serious. There's been a tremendous upsurge of it because of the tremendous use we've had of antibiotics. There was a time if a child came in with a sneeze, they would give it antibiotics. That's changing. In the intestines, you have flora growing in there. You have the whole floral balance. You have the friendly bacteria, primarily Acidophilus and Bifidus bacteria. Those are the two primary ones. They're the friendly ones. And so, today we have an inhabit Wall Street movement. Well, this is an inhabit your intestines movement of these friendly bacteria. They occupy space in the intestines. And you want to have 85% being friendly flora, friendly bacteria. If you don't, you end up with dysbiosis, and dysbiosis means that the unfriendly ones are more than 15%. You have 20%, 30%, 50%, whatever. As that happens, then you have more dangerous bacteria that can thrive, like E. coli. But when you're in a state of balance, 85% friendly bacteria, the E. coli and other dangerous toxins are not an issue. And it gets out of balance, and one of the ways that it gets out of balance is antibiotics. Antibiotics kill off the bad bacteria, but also kill off this good bacteria. And many physicians never told people, you should take yogurt, make sure you're replenishing your good bacteria, your Acidophilus, your Bifidus. That's not even mentioned. They're just giving the antibiotics. So you get that leak from the small intestines. And when the small intestines are compromised that way and inflamed, it reduces the ability to produce enzymes, the necessary enzymes, and then this impairs the digestion. So you're not going to be able to get sufficient nutrition. Even though you can eat a lot, you're not going to get the nutrition because the enzymes are compromised because of the inflammation in the small intestines. Now, as you build up more of these toxins going to the bloodstream, eventually the liver becomes overwhelmed with it. They can't detoxify it fast enough. And because of that, these toxins will then go into connective tissue and into the muscles. So then you have this toxic matter going into muscles and connective tissue because it's just being flooded. Every time you eat, you're flooding yourself with toxic material. Now, once a person has leaky gut syndrome, it can lead to Crohn's disease, fibromyalgia, which is extremely painful. Any spot you touch is painful. Chronic fatigue syndrome, diabetes, irritable bowel syndrome, arthritis, as well as pancreatic dysfunction. So you end up with many other serious illnesses. Some of the theories about the causes, it's thought to be allergies was one idea about what causes the problem. Allergies, and the typical allergens are dairy, wheat, and eggs are pretty typical ones. But then also refined sugars, the 6-carbon sugar that we have, the conventional table sugars. Now keep in mind that's the conventional table sugars. If you have the 5-carbon sugars such as D-ribose and xylitol as we have in the Sweet Day and the power sugar, that will not trigger it. So when you have the refined sugar, also you can have parasitic infections, poor digestion, candidiasis, which is a yeast fungus that we have a natural amount in our cells, but if you don't have enough of the friendly bacteria, the candidiasis will grow, and you end up with very serious yeast fungus infections.